watching around the world, we are set for the main event presented by KZ Event Productions. We are sanctioned by the World Boxing Association with President Gilberto Jesus Mendoza and Supervisor Jesper Jensen. This bout is scheduled for 12 rounds for the vacant WBA World Cruiserweight Championship. Introducing the judges and scoring the action from ringside. From Italy, Stefano Carrozza. From Poland, Paweł Cardini. From Poland, Leszek Jankowiak. The referee in charge of the action once we are underway from the USA, Tony Weeks. Introducing first, the man fighting out of the red corner. He enters wearing black trimmed in gold.
Ardaqtag'ayn sharshalaning qizil burishnaga sportchimen tanus bo'lasizlar. Qora tustirda qo'rg'aylar.
He weighed in at 200 pounds.
Resmi salmag'i 90 kg 700 gram.
His professional record outstanding at 30 victories, opposite a single defeat with 17 wins via knockout.
Kasbiy jetstiga 30 jekpi-jekda jengizga jetib, birovida jengilasiz. 17sini nokautdan jengizga jetgan.
The former WBF interim cruiserweight champion, ranked number 3 in the world by the WBA, fighting out of Neuwied, Germany, by way of Turkey.
Qarsanizlar, Hizli, the warrior, Altun Kaya.
His opponent awaits across the ring and fights out of the blue corner. He enters wearing black trimmed in gold.
Ardaqtag'ayn jerlislarimiz bilan tanus bo'lingizlar. Sharshalangning ko'k burishida qora және oltin tustirda nomusin qo'rg'aydi.
His official weight and even and identical 200 pounds.
Resmi salmag'i 90 kg 700 gram.
His record, 17 victories, opposite 2 defeats with 11 wins via knockout.
Kasbiy jetstiga 17 jekpi-jekda jengizga jetib, 2unda jengilasiz. 11 nokautdan o'tgan.
A 2004 Olympian, the former WBA World Light Heavyweight Champion, and former WBA World Cruiserweight Champion, fighting out of Shymkent, Kazakhstan.
Qarsalangizlar, Beybat Shumela!
Gentlemen, you both received your instructions in your dressing room. Okay, I want a good, clean fight. Obey my commands at all times. Above all, protect yourself at all times. Okay, right here is good. Right here is good. Okay, here we go.
Say it.
Say it. It's good.
So the main event then in the Barry's Arena, Astana, Kazakhstan, to mark the end of an explosive night of action. The WBA World Cruiserweight title on the line. Beybat Shumenov, with the shaved head, has been out of action for 2 years, and as you've heard, was medically given advice 12 months ago in the lead up to the Une Dorticos fight. He had a badly scratched cornea in the last sparring session leading into that, and was advised that could be potentially career ending. He hung up the gloves, and it was a surprise to see his name back in the mix, Barry, but given the way the landscape has changed and a shaking up of a division that just 18 months ago was in danger of falling a little bit stagnant, you can't blame him for wanting to come back now and just lay his cards on the table for a final time.
you can't blame. Oh, good shot. Good right hand. You can't blame him for anything. You can't blame him for fighting for a world title. You can't blame him for coming back. You can blame the organisations for allowing him to go walk straight into a world title in inverted commas, after being off for such a long period of time, when they already have one, if not two, or maybe three already guys claiming to be world champions in that organisation in the one weight class. But as the boxers go, you take what's given to you.
Well, a left hook to the body has hurt his Alton Kaya early. He's wincing in real pain. Could this one be over before it's begun? It would sit right in with the pattern of the night so far. And Shumenov, well, maybe he won't need any time to shake off the ring rust. 2 years out, but he started fast with just a minute to go here. And Alton Kaya already trying to buy himself some time and see out the end of the round. Stiff right hand.
And already clearly showing he's out of his league, let's be honest. I have to be brutally honest about that, just showing that. But he just keep plenty mobile now, keep all the way that left hook to the body.
Well, 31-1 Alton Kaya, but only boxed outside of Germany on one occasion. That was against Poland's Krzysztof Glowacki. Let's not forget, gave Alexander Usyk a tough time over 12 rounds. Usyk was in control, but Glowacki's a solid world level operator, and he was out of his depth that night. Is he a little out of his depth in Kazakhstan here?
Well, he is, and what his record shows is what we've seen tonight. How easy it is to build up an undefeated record that when you're fighting some guys you don't want to know. And so looking at the records, not always looking deep into their record and seeing who they come up against, that tells you about how good the fighter might potentially be.
Well, good start for Babych Shumenov, a welcome homecoming.
I like Shumenov. I think he's good. He's effective without being sensationally crowd pleasing, and he goes about his work methodically, and he picks his punches quite well. And again, he's up against a guy who's below his level, and he's dominating, which he should.
Well, Alton Kaya is pretty straight up and down. Let's make no bones about that. Just was caught by that short left hook on the inside as he stepped in. Didn't see it at all.
And to be fair, when remember his arms out, so his lungs are right open there. So he's almost relaxed and he takes that body shot. And it's only a touch, and people might have never been hurt with a body shot. It's only a touch, but if it hits you in the right spot, all it takes is that little whipping action, and it takes your breath away slowly. He did well to get up, and he did well to stay mobile enough to just to see the round through.
Well, he's going to have to tuck up tight here. Try and just weather an early storm. Shumenov is a different boxer in recent years, certainly since the Bernard Hopkins defeat when he lost his title at light heavyweight. He was just schooled by the old master, kind of had shades of Mayweather Canelo that night, and since then, as Canelo Alvarez did, he made a number of adaptations. He was self-coached for the majority of his time leading up to that fight, and then he teamed up with Ismail Salas, and it's just been a little more negative and so much more disciplined than he was in the pre-Hopkins days. Of course, moved up to cruiserweight as well. Not a huge cruiserweight, Barry, but he says he feels much more comfortable at the weight.
Yeah, well, probably, it's just probably a struggle making light heavyweight for such a long period of time, and also he's in his mid-30s as well when you start to thicken out a little bit. So again, that's probably the move up. Good right hand there, but just and maybe the adaptation of your style is to do with your age. You can't do the things you could do when you were younger, so you have to be a little bit more, a little bit more variety in your work, just to keep you more competitive, as Hopkins did.
Absolutely, and what Hopkins did to Shumenov then really went and did to BJ Flores in his first step up at the minus 200 pound division. It was not necessarily a crowd-pleasing display, but it was disciplined, and he boxed to win the contest on points.
Of course, and that display for Flores got him the Bellew fight, most definitely. And being mates with David Haye, of course, got him the Bellew fight.
And of course, David Haye, career ending not in the way he wanted. He was under the tutelage of Ismail Salas, who's in the corner of Babych Shumenov this evening.
So you talk about that cruiserweight division, and I can't think of a time that it hasn't been a good weight to watch. So since it started, let's be honest, you think of some of the champions it's had throughout its history, and it's just been a phenomenal weight to watch.
And he's set his sights on Arsene Galamaran as Shumenov, who's the current WBA interim champion. I'm not quite sure whether that's the best route for him. Maybe he believes that's a winnable fight and something that would just increase his credibility. Of course, Lebedev still sits as the champion in recess, having been beaten by Gassiev a couple of years ago now, lost the IBF to him but didn't relinquish the WBA. Gassiev, of course, is the super champion, but really you would think the next logical step up, if Shumenov gets past this in convincing fashion, would maybe be looking to rearrange that contest with Dorticos. He put in a good display against Gassiev, and really that would work as a nice eliminator for some of the top guys in the division.
The first point, I know we're talking about the fight, is if Lebedev loses a fight in championship weight, then he should lose his titles, whether they're up for grabs or not. You know, that used to be the case many years ago. But listen, again, Shumenov, you know, he's given the opportunity, he takes it, he wins a world title, and you can't blame him for that. And again, goes for his work quite effectively without setting the world alight. And the thing with Shumenov is, as he showed in that round, is he has got fast hands when he decides to throw him, but he likes to fight at an even pace. And sometimes when you step up against the top of like the Gassievs and certainly the Usyks and them sort of fighters, you have to be able to go through the gears very, very quickly. And I'm not sure whether this guy can do it. In fights of this level, this opposition, he's always going to dominate.
What's that big unification World Boxing Super Series final with Usyk and Gassiev taking place not next weekend but the weekend after. There's Daniil Yelyusinov, who recently turned over in the UK after winning gold at the Rio Olympics in welterweight. Looked a special talent in the amateurs.
Well, he was good in the York Hall the other week. I was there. I know you were there as well. I was there also. And it was really, really good to watch.
Well, and we spoke about some of the young Kazakhs learning their trade further afield. Good to see somebody like him just trying to carve a path elsewhere other than just in his home nation. And I'm sure he'll come back here and box at some point in the future. Golovkin was back here a week or so ago. He received a presidential honour, the kind of equivalent to a knighthood, and said he would love to, should he get past the Canelo fight on the 15th of September, come and stage a big super fight night in the Kazakh capital. And I'm sure Yelyusinov would love to be a part of that, as would Babych Shumenov.
Yeah, sure.
Well, so far so good for the home fighter's return. Just catches a speculative left hook on the way in.
But landed with a stronger right hand, I think.
He's putting a lot into these early shots, perhaps just sensing that he's hurting his Niautonkaya. Looks a little bit more like the old Shumenov that we saw, less dancing and just more hunting.
Yeah, well, that's because he got nothing coming back. That's why he has to be the aggressor.
Well, Niautonkaya, 17 stoppages in his 31, well, his 30 victories rather, but really he's not got that one punch knockout power. He's just the kind of fighter that wears his opposition down, an opposition of a certain level, it has to be said, Barry.
Yeah, and he's obviously not going to wear Shumenov down when he's with his back to the rope and Shumenov the one to take the pace. Niautonkaya needs to get that jab into play. He needs to get some solid foundations to work and get those combinations flowing if he can.
Just trying to step in with that right hand to the body, soften Niautonkaya up, perhaps seeing that as an area of a weakness for the German-based Turkish fighter.
This is where he needs to be, Niautonkaya, in the centre of the ring. Even though you can see Shumenov trying to set him up with something, looking to draw the lead for that right hand over the top of that low left hand.
Well, the height and reach almost identical. I think Niautonkaya on the tail of the tape earlier has got about an inch in reach advantage, but it's negligible really in the feet of Shumenov, just so much sharper. Niautonkaya already flat-footed.
And when your judgment of the distance is so much better than your opponent's, then sometimes you can negate all that longer reach, height, even hand speed. If you have good judgment of distance and timing, good timing beats blind speed every day of the week. The problem is for Niautonkaya, this Shumenov, I think, has the faster hands, better boxing brain, better timing, more power. Shall I go on?
Well, it's comfortably in control as we draw to the end of round number 3.
But again, comfortable, and maybe too comfortable that he maybe that this is where the only criticism of Shumenov is that he should be going through the gears against this guy. and setting a bit of a statement that I'm back at world level.
So 3 rounds in, and you've given a 10-8 for that first round, Barry, as well.
Yeah, he's dominant. He's clearly dominant, and you know, Alton Kaya did well to get up off a body shot that clearly hurt him, and he did well to keep the feet mobile to get him to the bell. But he's playing catch up without really any intensity in his work to try and claw it back, and that's understandable because he's the guy who's better than him in every department, which is very difficult. But the boxing with your, and again, it's how you train. Boxing with a low left hand, you know, means you're going to take right hands, especially with a guy who can time you quite well, and what he's doing quite often here.
But even there, you can see he's still defensively minded when he's coming in under the attack. Just slides back out as well, keeps the hands high, and that's again a stylistic adjustment he's made under Salas.
Well, that sliding in out of distance is very important because when you land your shot, you get out of trouble. But also, when you slide and don't jump so much, then you can the weight's on your back foot to pounce back in and count it again. If you slide in and out and you're being defensive and you see an opening, then all of a sudden, then you can slide back in easily and still maintain that power. Says the man who couldn't punch.
Well, you can't have everything, but Shumenov has got his eyes on the bigger prize. He's well ahead. Beginning of round number 4 against Hisni Alton Kaya. Well, we suspected as much, Barry. You know, these kind of padded records, not moving around, staying in one country and beating a level of opposition time and time again of a very similar stylistic nature, and Alton Kaya clearly is a level above those sorts of German national level boxers, but really when he starts to step up at world level, as we saw against Glowacki, he's just not quite got enough of the tools that he needs to be competitive.
You don't have to be in 50-50 fights all the time, because that's no good for longevity, but you have to be in tests. So if not so much for your managers, your trainers and your promoters, for yourself to know that you can, you know, when you're called upon, you can dig inside you. You have that. We all think we got bottle, you know, and guts, and you know, but until you actually tested, you don't really know. So those competitive fights, even though you might be the favourite, you need those fights. And listen, he might have had them. I haven't really seen much of him, but going through his record, it doesn't look like he's had many fights where he's had to, you know, really dig deep.
Well, he's certainly going to have to start digging deep here. He was hurt in the first round. Just looks to be settling in a little bit better, but he's not winning the jab exchanges, and his body shots sinking themselves in, and every time Shumenov opens up, Alton Kaya just retreats into that shell. But as you said earlier, Barry just doesn't want to find himself trapped on the ropes or in the corner either.
Well, he's trying to be the counter-puncher against Shumenov, but obviously he's not going to win that game, so he has to try and go forward to close the gap and just make Shumenov, you know, second guess his attacks, which is feint in there with body movement there, which is the right idea, but he's doing it in no man's land where it doesn't really have any effect.
Well, Shumenov's forcing him to work, isn't he? He's having to move.
Yeah, it's out of necessity rather than, you know, you're not moving to plan something, you're moving because you have to move, or you're throwing because you have to throw to survive. So that little movement there, but just do it with some sort of positive action after it. But and if you can't reach him with the jab, you step behind the jab and double it up.
You see Shumenov now just trying to bait him into coming forward and maybe overcommitting on the front foot. And this is the extra bit of intelligence that he's added to his arsenal under the tutelage of, well, I say Salas. Salas has really been based in London over the last 12 to 18 months. It's been more the likes of Rodney Chrysler and Big Jeff Kamoja in the City Boxing Club in Nevada, Las Vegas, and he's been consistently ticking over with them, and you can see the influence just where once he may have just continued to walk forward and crash against tucked up elbows and high gloves. He's just try and take a different approach, back up and bring Alton Kaya into the contest.
Which is not a bad thing, you know, the set of attacks and a little bit of intelligence and set traps. But I think actually for this sort of opposition, he needs to be the bully, the old Shumenov, the more the aggressor. I think he can walk through some stuff here, and he should be banging the elbows and the arms. Make this guy feel the power, make him panic. If you have that power, then just make him feel it.
Don't get fooled by him.
Well, we see that's about as flush as Alton Kai has landed in the contest so far. Had next to no effect.
But he's been forced into survival mode very early, hasn't he, from Shumenov? And again, that's that ring generalship. Even taking the centre ring, or even when you're not taking the centre ring, you're still the guy who's in control of the pace and where the action's taking place. But Shumenov now, to really set a bit of a statement, needs to be that aggressor now. Needs to be that bit of that bully. He's the better fighter. He must feel that as well. Everything's going his own way.
Well, one more clear round in the bank for Shumenov, Barry, and if the judges have seen it the same way as yourself, and maybe a 10-8 round here or there, he's already pretty much clear on the cards. And so if Alton Kai is serious about winning this and he wants to try and roll the dice, he's going to have to take a few risks in the second half of the fight if it goes that far.
He isn't, but it's easy to say. I was going to say the same thing. He needs to take a risk, and I will say that again probably. But it's easy to say when you're the guy who's better than you, and he's setting you up, and you're getting hurt every time you make a mistake. But at some point you have to, otherwise you literally, it's going to be every round's going to be the same, and you're going to lose in dramatic fashion. But he's trying the best he can. I just don't think he has the arsenal, or maybe the ring intelligence to worry Shumenov. Again, try to throw the right hand, but he's throwing a little bit wide, and Shumenov's right hand is right down the centre of the guard, inside his body frame, so he's always going to hit the target first.
And just a sense by all ringside, and certainly Alton Kai himself, those moments where he does commit and open up, that if Shumenov can just time him on the counter, we could see him down again, because, well, Shumenov, not a monster puncher at cruiserweight.
But he's dominant. He's pushing him back around the ring now, and this is where he wants to be now. Shumenov, keep that sustained pressure. Keep this kid's back on the ropes.
Well, he killed himself. He killed himself for a number of years to make the light heavyweight limit. He's around 6'2", Shumenov, and he said that when he first went over to the States, everybody his size or even a little bigger was at the light heavyweight limit, and he just felt a little bit of pressure to box there rather than where he felt comfortable. And I think perhaps with age and maturity, going up to the minus 200 pound limit, although he's not the biggest guy, and as we said, not the biggest puncher, you've got to fight where you feel comfortable.
Yeah, and also, when you're a world champion, it's okay moving up the weight, but you give up your world title. It's okay if you're a massive name and a big draw, then you walk straight into another world title fight. But you have to make sure that you're financially in the right place. Another clear round in the bag there for Shumenov, and
apologies to our viewers for the break in transition on a couple of occasions in the round there. Well, Alton Kai just got a concerned look on his face, hasn't he? And really, as you said, it's a case of he knows what to do, but has he got the tools to do it?
There's a panic in his corner. I don't know what they're banging is. First thing they want to do is just get his breathing back. He looks like looks panicked and a little bit. They're all heaped over him, and they just want. He needs a little bit of just calmness and just clear advice.
Well, in that opening round, we didn't look like we were going to reach the midway point, and his Kazakh countrymen have dealt with their opposition in swift fashion this evening across the board. Shumenov a little more patient, and he's got a little more riding on victory than the bigger picture. And well, in this new version of him, more patient, more calculated, and just a slightly more risk-averse Beibut Shumenov. But well, doesn't look to be too much in the way of ring rust, and you can see that injury or no injury, he hasn't really spent much time out of the gym.
No, he looks in good shape. He looks sharp enough, and and he looks to me, he looks just like Shumenov of old, really. The good and bad. Let's be honest.
Just a brief recess in the action. Shumenov holding centre ring, dictate behind the jab, and he's just negating what's coming back at him. But he's waiting for Altenkaya to try and commit. I think he might be waiting a while. Nice right hand to the body there, just underneath the elbow. Digs in with the left this time.
He's looking for that. He wants that one-punch finish, doesn't he? He wants that showreel finish. Here, Shumenov.
He's tried a couple of times to open him up upstairs, going with a straight right to the body. The left hook upstairs. He's a little soft to the body, perhaps, Altenkaya.
I think he showed a little bit of sturdiness, to be fair, Altenkaya, because he's not very competitive. But he's taking his licks, and he's for the guy who holds his hands low, he's been sort of evading any huge shots.
He's kind of tailor-made for a fighter like Glowacki, really, because he's flat-footed, doesn't really go anywhere. Once you start coming at him, he tends to kind of tuck up, and he retreats there. But against Glowacki, he's just standing in front of him, and Glowacki, short, stocky, those kind of bent arm punches, perfect on the inside. He's a big power puncher as well,
and he won't stop. That's the difference. Where Shumenov will think a little bit more, Glowacki will go full out.
Perhaps just moments in this that Shumenov, as you say, kind of giving him a breather by pacing himself, and he's so in control, but he seems to be comfortable just boxing this kind of distance and just coming in these little bursts and raids, then backing off and just having everything his own way.
Well, and he's having everything his own way. It's right, and and he's not taking any shots. So in that way, it's clever boxing. He's every time he attacks, he's dominant, and then he slides out of distance, doesn't take anything back. But for selling yourself, just the next phase.
So past the midway point then, and well, every round emphatically for the man on your screen there, Jeff Gamorja, just wiping the brow. He's put a fair bit into these rounds, but it's all been his work. He hasn't really had to absorb anything coming back at him.
So try to keep with your jab, only powerful jab, up and down, not the same jab way, because he tried to make countering your jab. So you have to mix it up big, okay? If you were with the body,
not far off with that right uppercut there through the guard. Shumenov. That's a trademark shot for him, isn't it? A long left hook, just out of distance. He don't quite leap in like a Nazim Hamid, but just pushes off that front foot. Just get a little bit more distance. It's a comfortable showing for him right now, but and keep saying the same thing. But if he just goes through the next phase now, goes through the gears, I think he can get the stoppage.
Whoa, looping right hand, but there was plenty of force behind it, and Altenkaya shook his head. Often that's a sign that he did feel it. Bit of kidology, jab, and then that right hand to the body again, and Shumenov just got the bit between his teeth at the start of round number 7.
I don't know what Altenkaya does. Does he flurry? Does he come out 4 or 5 straight shots and try to literally physically push Shumenov back, hoping he doesn't take a long left hook?
He doesn't often find himself on the back foot, Barry, in his 31 contests. Other than that one outside of Germany, he's been pretty much the one that's been able to hold centre ring and just pepper away at his opponents, and he's the kind of fighter that really never stops anyone with one punch knockouts, but just waits for opponents to get tired of a certain level, and then when the mistakes start to happen, that's when he catches them cleanly. But really, he's in against a man not only that's being a boss and pushing him back as he is now, but makes fewer and fewer mistakes in the later part of his career. It's going to be hard to catch Shumenov with one.
And Altenkaya just blocking, just taking a little bit of sting out of the shots. They're heavy and he's feeling them, but keeping those gloves nice and tight to around his face. Just good. That's a decent little right hand there, wasn't it?
It was, but the effect was slim to none, wasn't it? Shumenov straight back on the front foot, marching him down, and you just see the concentration in his eyes there too. He's wide and ready to counter, looking for an opening.
And he keeps that low left hand, just they're very hard to read. I know I love it that guys punch from their waist because means your chin's exposed, but makes your shots very hard to read. And he just that wide stance, that left foot right in front of your stance, just stealing your space. And making you feel you're under pressure all the time. Just makes it struggles for you to regulate your breathing, and when you just feel under constant pressure. Single punches are not going to be enough here for Alton Kaya. He needs those combinations. Needs to be as busy as he can possibly, even if you're just trying to be competitive in these last few rounds.
Is there just a sense now that Alton Kaya is resigned to defeat and just wants to, rather than go out on a shield, just be able to say that he went 12 rounds in a world title contest rather than go out the way he did against Glowacki? It's difficult to know really what his intentions are.
He won't be thinking that. He'll just be thinking about get through the rounds. That's what he'll be thinking about now. If he's been hurt a few times or buzzed, he'll be thinking about just trying to get through this round and get to the next round.
He certainly is doing that. Shumenov again retreats to his corner, knowing that he's comfortably clear on the cards.
Looks lost, doesn't he? Tired. Needs to take that gum shield off his mouth. That's the first thing he should do.
We'll look at some of the highlights from the round there. That was the very beginning. Shumenov came out with that.
Just keeping that high guard, just taking the sting out of those right hands. That looping right hand first of all, then that straight nice right hand from Shumenov. But Shumenov's boxing well within himself. He really is, and being dominant. So from that perspective, it's a good night's work for him because he hasn't had to go through second gear yet.
And I get what you're saying, Barry, about wanting to see him put his foot down and try and get his man out of there. But really, the bigger picture is that if he's got some of these top guys in his crosshairs, whether it be Dorticos, Gassiev, Usyk, Glowacki, he's going to have to box clever to beat these guys.
You can just literally put your hand in the air and pick any name out of the sky, can you, in the cruiserweight division? But it's also about, in a weight like that, full of really good names and good fights, is selling yourself. And Shumenov is a good fighter and he's a hard man to beat. But unless you're thinking he's the weakest link, then or unless you're going to go and box in his home turf every time, then how do you sell him?
Well, you would think
to TV, to Western TV.
Well, of course, but you would think if the WBA regular strap is around his waist, that's enough leverage at least to entice maybe a couple of the losing semi-finalists into a match with him. Dorticos, of course, is the obvious one, and the winner of that would then be in prime position for a rematch with the winner in 2 weeks' time. And you would hope that with one man taking all of the WBA belts, at some point they would absorb them into each other, and we don't have this situation where we've got 3 or 4 champions at the same weight. But
in the same organisation.
In the same organisation, yeah. Wishful thinking. Alton Kaya just trying to catch the jabs that are coming at him. Salas instructed Shumenov to keep doubling up that jab in the interim between 6 and 7.
Well, he can pepper, because he sits on that back foot, Shumenov, he can pepper him with the jab. It comes from the waist as well. So and then encourage this guy to come forward. Then you can set him up for a long left hook or the straight right hand down the line.
You feel as if these two could kind of do this for another several rounds, unless somebody takes the imperative. Either Alton Kaya starts to take a few risks, which doesn't look likely, or Shumenov decides to really go for it. We could just see this up until the end of round 12, which would be a shame, really.
Well, you could. Listen, and Shumenov, listen, it's all Shumenov. He's winning the fight. In that respect, why should he make any more effort? He's winning the fight without taking any punishment at all, and he can defend his version of the world title, and he'll be fine. But for selling yourself, when it's in you, if you can't do it, then fair enough. But it's within him now to put his foot on the gas a little bit, so he could do it.
Well, it's got some real shades of what he did to BJ Flores on his first outing in the -200-pound division. Just kind of the art of frustration, though, more for Flores. He wasn't really hurting him as such. He was just picking his shots and moving away, and Flores was trying to cut the ring off and find him. Just couldn't find him for all 36 minutes, and it was a carbon copy of the lessons in frustration that he was given by Bernard Hopkins that night over in the United States a few years ago.
Deep breath. I need.
The figure of Rodney Crisler in his corner there has worked with the former IBF interim super middleweight champion Andre Durrell. A bronze medal super middleweight in 2004, same year Gennady Golovkin took his medal honours. And of course Babut Shumenov was at the games as well. Seems like an awful long time ago now.
That's only just lifetime away.
It's been a period of extended celebrations for the Kazakh people. 20-year anniversary as Tony Weeks brings the fighters together for the beginning of round number 9. Shumenov again just starts to work to the body. Alton Kaya backs instantly into the corner. Shumenov opens up. Is he going to try and put some sustained pressure on his opponent for the first time? He does. The right hook to the body landed, and Alton Kaya takes a knee. Weeks waving Shumenov into the neutral corner. Doesn't look like he wants to know, does he?
No, I don't think he was really. I don't think he was seriously hurt there. Just the pressure. He was overwhelmed. He was flustered. And the only place he could rest was the floor.
Well, we knew it would just take Shumenov to take the imperative to change the narrative of this contest, and he's doing that. Beginning of this 9th round, he's got a bit between his teeth.
Well, listen, we asked for him to put his foot on the gas. He did it, and look what happened. As soon as a sustained attack appeared there from Shumenov, and he gets his opponent on the floor. So that's so this continues now, and he gets the stoppage that maybe should have happened a few rounds ago.
Well, nice wherewithal from Alton Kaya there. Just got himself out of trouble momentarily, but is he just delaying the inevitable here as Shumenov again hunts him with his back to the ropes? The German-based Turkish fighter again retreats into that corner, just can't get away from his man as much as he tries. Some of the dignitaries, politicians and fighters ringside are on their feet now. They just sense that there's been a change in the ebb and flow of this contest, which has been all Shumenov so far, but as you say, Barry, just needed a little bit of extra spice from him, and he's starting to crank things up now.
Just need to walk him onto that right hand, so plenty of jabs, left hooks. Take that left foot across the left side, hand side as well. Just walk him onto that right hand.
Just cat and mouse here. Shumenov not cutting the ring off brilliantly there. Just got to take that step across and try and make the space small for Alton Kaya. Just under a minute to go, and he's really got survival mode written all over him now.
Because he don't take that step with that left foot, Shumenov, that allows Alton Kaya there just to spin off to his right and get some sort of release, some escape off the ropes. He takes that step across, and he got to go right, and he doesn't want to go right. That's the worst place for him to go, so he's stuck. He'll sit on the ropes then, and then you can work away.
Well, Tony Weeks is as experienced as you'll find in refereeing terms in world title fights. He's having a close look at Alton Kaya. Hasn't really looked at Shumenov in the last minute or so. He's just got all eyes.
The problem is, even though he's losing everything, Alton Kaya's not getting beat up, is he? Really? So, unless he shows a real sign of wilting, I can't see why the referee would want to step in.
He's breathing heavily now, though. And as you say, not necessarily really badly hurt, just worn down, and wow, you can see all there, can't you? Still gesturing to the right side of the body. That was where he was hurt in the first round.
Yeah, that's it. They've got to call it.
Okay, well, there we are. I think it's really delaying the inevitable to go any further for Hisni Altenkara. He's been brave, he's shown that he's durable, but it was emphatic and comprehensive for Shumenov, who won every second of every round from where we're sat. And I think there'll be frustration, but probably relief ultimately for Altenkaya, because he was well overmatched tonight.
To be honest, for me, it was a sort of a typical Shumenov display. We knew he was going to win. On paper, he was always going to win. It was the sort of fight you expected, where he wins quite comfortable, does enough. In flashes, he shows flashes of really good quality. And listen, he is a hard man to beat, and he will always look like the weakest link in the division. Like he didn't like heavyweight, to be honest. He looked like you'll go for him, but he's a hard man to beat, I feel. But he also looks like he can do a little bit more, and that was the case again tonight. As good as he was good and he was dominant against a guy way below his level, let's not forget that. But it also looked like he could do a little bit more. Maybe the better opposition will maybe bring that out of him, because he'll need to be better than that, or more proactive than that, against some of the better names in the division.
Well, whether or not he has got the tools to mix it with the division, that belt is now his, the WBA World Cruiserweight regular title, and enough certainly in terms of bargaining power to tempt some of those names we've been discussing over the course of the show into a big showdown, perhaps here in Astana. Maybe he'll have to travel further afield. He's of course based in Las Vegas with his team. He was due to fight there last year. I'm sure he'd love to get back out there in front of the crowds in the United States, put on a big show. But nevertheless, whether he's the old Babet Shumenov or a Mark II, he is back, and he's back in winning fashion.
The problem you have with the WBA, with all the world title champions they have in the same weights, is that people can keep avoiding each other. So you'll get fighters who are not really good enough to be world champions. I was one of them. But then when you step up to fight a genuine world-class fighter, your reign's very short, and that's what happens. So you'll get fighters slip through the net. That's always going to be the case. But when you have regular, interim, champions in recess, and super champions all in the same weight division, in the same organisation, then people could be world champion for years and avoid everyone. And that's where it causes a problem, and that's where our sport gets diluted because of that. You've got some fantastic fighters willing to fight each other, but the more belts you give these people, the more chance they can, them, their promoters and their managers, whatever it is, the more they can keep avoiding the fights that the public want to see. And ultimately, it dilutes the money down the line. People say more belts, more money, but I think it has an adverse effect at the highest level, because the better fights, more money. That's what we want to see. So you can't blame, if you can't blame Shumenov. He's a world-class fighter, and congratulations to him. He'll take. If someone offered me a world title belt tomorrow, I'd come out of retirement and I'd fight someone who'd never had a fight in his life, and I'd call myself a two-time world champion. You take that. But the organisations need to have some sort of social responsibility and be a little bit more realistic and honest about how they rate fighters and who they give world championship belts to. Rant over.
Well, we're waiting patiently for the announcement. The ring is full, and here is our master of ceremonies.
One of our fighters' corners has advised the referee to not allow him to continue. Your winner by technical knockout, and now WBA World Cruiserweight Champion,
Koşubitiriniz, Babet Shumenov!
Well, great to see Babet Shumenov back in front of a home crowd. It's capped off perfectly the plans for this 20-year anniversary of the capital here at the Barry's Arena. He is now the WBA World Cruiserweight regular champion, 14 days before that big unification clash between Alexander Usyk and Murat Gassiev.